Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to another Game of Thrones Season 8 episode review. Today, we're going to be looking over the episode The Last of the Starks. The Long Night really lowered my expectations for future episodes. I also had some caffeine, which might have affected my viewing experience just a little. I I don't normally have caffeine, so it's about as potent as alcohol to me. While this episode isn't perfect, it had more things to laugh at, intentional and not, which made it much more enjoyable for me. From this point on, there will be spoilers, so if you have not yet seen the episode and you still want to, go watch it. You know. Part 1, Burning of the Bodies. The episode starts out in a very somber mood. I like that we are able to see the devastation by the body count. The thing that lessened this scene was the fact no major characters had been killed. Theon was not valued by the fandom, as was Jorah. Plus, Jorah, since season 7 has really been a glorified extra, which is really hard to say because he's my favorite character, but you gotta admit facts sometimes. Lyanna was a fan favorite who didn't affect the plot that much in season 8. Many people had forgotten who Ed was, and I had to remind various people, like at least two or three, when we were talking about who got killed during the Battle of Winterfell. It's like, who was Ed? And I'm like, oh, he was this guy. Oh yeah, I thought he was this guy. So eh. But the scene is shot in such a way you are moved. Jorah Mormont and Theon Greyjoy's corpses are given the most attention. Daenerys kisses Jorah's foreheads and whispers something to him afterwards. And from what I can find, her line to Jorah there was not scripted. It was something that just her and Jorah, well, it was just something now that Emilia Clarke and Ian Glenn know. So it's a mystery. Probably something cute. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think Daenerys whispered into Jorah's ears? Well, and yeah. Okay, just so we don't get distracted on that one point, which I would love to go on forever. Sansa cries over Theon and gives him a pin with the Stark logo. I am a Jorah Dany shipper, and that kiss and whisper hit me right in the feels. I also enjoy how Sansa's relationship with Theon has evolved, and that moment when she gives Theon the pin was really somber. A little bit of dust in the air. Part 2, Euron's sneak attack. Daenerys and gang set off to Dragonstone thinking it was safe, not thinking Euron Greyjoy could be waiting there with ships and weapons to attack her. She knew how close King's Landing was to Dragonstone, and that Cersei might use the Targaryen's absence to make a trap. Daenerys doesn't allow Rhaegal time to heal, and the way he flies clearly indicates he's not at full strength. So with a dragon not at full charge, Euron has an easy time killing it. Plus the fact Rhaegal wasn't wearing his plot armor, so I swear, Jon read ahead in the script, and that's why he didn't write Rhaegal. You cannot convince me otherwise. You just can't. Just when a bolt shoots Rhaegal's throat, the sound of someone drinking a Slurpee plays. I rewound that moment up to 5 times to make sure I heard it correctly. Because my brain wasn't registering. First I'm watching it like, did I just hear that 5 times? Like, oh my god! Never mind the fact no one was prepared for Cersei to have laid a trap. The slurpy sound was enough to ruin the moment for me. It was hilarious, but I'm sure that wasn't the effect that showrunners wanted. Okay, finally on this point, I'm just going to bring this up. I am growing tired of Daenerys not realizing that she isn't relegated to moving like she's on the ground. She could have flown up high and attacked Euron's fleet from behind before he could reposition the guns, and repeat that maneuver a few times. Instead, she flies down and screams at him, not even bothering to let out one Dracarys. I mean, really? Really? Euron must also be wearing some of that infamous plot armor. Part 3. Jon's wavering alliances. Jon Snow has been forced to choose where his allegiances truly lie. This happened the moment he returned to Winterfell and reunited with his family. He wants to do right by both Daenerys and his remaining family members. Him having to contend with the truth of his heritage is something else thrown into the mix. When Jon told Daenerys about who he actually was, she tried to make him doubt his best friend, Samwell Tarly, and brother, Rhaon Stark. This episode, she tries to put distance between him and his sisters, Arya and Sansa Stark. So when he tells the truth to Sansa and Arya, it is him moving a little bit further away from Daenerys. However, he is still loyal to Daenerys in all other aspects. He is just big on family, something the Targaryen doesn't understand. I mean, Daenerys had a, shall we say, rough childhood. Her brother was abusive and decided to sell her to Dothraki, for the chance of a big army to take over Westeros. So, shit. Part 4. Arya Stark's backward character arc. Arya Stark seemed to be evolving ever since she returned to Winterfell. Her loyalty to her family overrode her need for vengeance. Then when Gendry came back into her life, she became intimate with him. This was the first time she ever had sex with anyone. It is also one of the few, if not the only, time someone has had sex on the show without a hidden agenda. Which makes their sex scene even that much better to me. I don't see Arya as someone who would willingly marry someone who would keep her in one place. So I wasn't too shocked that she didn't accept Gendry's proposal. However, I hope that Find the Dead would teach her that she should be open to more possibilities. So she would tell Gendry she needed time to consider his proposal, and that she wouldn't feel bad if he married someone else before she made up her mind. Instead, she kisses him, and then she's off with Sandor the Hound Clegane. So, I felt as if some of her character development was thrown away just to have her off traveling with an old friend. Part 5. Daenerys, the Mad Queen. The 7th season of Game of Thrones saw Daenerys go backwards on her character development. She didn't seem to have learned any lessons from Meereen. Instead, she demanded respect. In the 8th season, her darker nature has been shoved to the forefront. In this episode, we see her losing everyone that believed in her and that had been her friend over numerous seasons. Daenerys lost Viserion twice to the Night King. She lost Jorah Mormont, who had always been her moral compass and able to hold back her more vicious side. He was also the one person she ended up trusting completely. She kissed him this episode and then whispered something to his ear. Hang on, I read that wrong. Love doing these things live. She kissed him this episode and then whispered something into his ear, showing that she feels something more than friendship towards him. She lost Rhaegal, who was the second of her quote-unquote children. She lost Missandei, who was a good friend of hers and an advisor. Finally, she lost the full support of Jon, who she is driving away because of fear. Add to that fact, she has felt lonely ever since going to the North. Because of that loneliness in the North, she leaned on power to give herself strength. That leaning on power for comfort has now backfired into people not adoring her like she wanted. So it is understandable why Daenerys would turn mad. She has lost everything and feels alone in the world. The one goal that remains for her is to take the Iron Throne. And she'll go toward that goal even if it means the end of her, whether her soul or body. I noticed that Daenerys and Cersei are wearing similarly colored clothing, as if the costume department wants to lure viewers into Daenerys' deepening madness. I've been wanting Daenerys to go mad for many seasons. And no, it isn't because I hate her character. And that's it for this review. As I had to make a short review, I did leave some things out. Feel free to comment about anything I didn't mention. And you notice I didn't really talk about Ghost, so if you want to ask me questions about Ghost, go ahead. I just couldn't find room to fit him into the review, sadly. Just like the producers did not find time to put him into the rest of the show. Hey, Ghost, you're really special to me, and direwolves are symbols of House Stark, but you don't belong here. Ah, fuck. Okay, I'm gonna start. I have to stop before I start banging my head into something. Oh my god. But anyways, what did you think about this episode? And also any questions you want to ask me concerning this episode? And I just don't really feel excited for Game of Thrones anymore. I'm sort of now lowering my expectations for this show as low as, watching a Sharknado movie. I love the Sharknado franchise. And I'm trying to view Game of Thrones now in a Sharknado light, and it's making it a lot more enjoyable to me. I'm wondering if any of you have any of those coping mechanisms. But anyways, if you are on the YouTubes, please like this video for us finally getting a taste of Daenerys going mad. And hey, I'm going to be reviewing the next episodes of this season, and I will also be doing a season review where I will go more in depth about certain things, because when I do long reviews like that, I can give myself like a month to finalize everything so I don't feel too rushed. I mean, I still rush myself, but not as much. So if you don't want to miss any of my Game of Thrones content, please subscribe. And if you're watching on my blog and watching on the desktop version of my blog, please choose the follow by email option. And you will never again miss, not podcast, will never miss a post by me. I just don't do reviews of Game of Thrones. I also talk about other fandoms. I have some fan fiction lined up. I do a dramatic reading of the Animorphs series. So a lot of stuff goes on in my blog. So if you want to check that out and never miss another post by me again, that's the way to do it. Oh, and before I leave you for today, and I might do a Game of Thrones retrospective. I'll get some people I know and we'll talk about Game of Thrones for a little bit. But that will only happen if I have at least 10 people, donating to my Patreon. And if you would like, if you really want to hear my opinion, want to hear me doing a Game of Thrones retrospective with a few other people, you can be one of the people to donate to my Patreon. And all you have to do to go to my Patreon is if you're on the YouTube's link in the description, and if you're on my Blog Dave blog, link in the sidebar thingamajig. So please, let's make this retrospective happen, people. And let's hope for a decent showdown between Cersei and Daenerys next week, though I'm not really holding my breath. So, goodbye.